There's some Jim Rohn for you this Monday morning. Hey, what can you do today? Forget tomorrow. What can you do today to make some changes to get you to the life that you deserve? Because if nothing changes, nothing changes. That's right. Nothing changes, nothing changes. And so you get a chance to hear the reminder, because again, it's not about these are new things. Are we doing what we know? Are we doing what we know we should be doing? Where are we pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone and saying, I'm going to change this area? If we want our life to change, something's got to change. If you want something around you to change, guess what? You got to change. I know you know this. Are we doing it? Are we doing what we know? Did we change this weekend or did we do similar things? Did we see the same people, have the same conversations, do the same things, go to the same places, experience the same feelings, watch the same shows, right? Was our weekend the same? Because more of the same equals just more of the same. I want you to be inspired. I want you to be motivated. I want you to be encouraged to go off and change your life. And the work comes after hearing these things. The work comes by you saying, am I changing? What am I going to change today that's going to make a difference in my life? What am I going to change in my health today that's going to make a huge difference and impact in my health? What am I going to change about my finances today? What am I going to change about my schedule today? Like, what are we doing to change, ladies and gentlemen? That is the message from Jim Rohn. Change requires you to change. Change requires you to change. You cannot be the same person and expect different results. What do they call that? The definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over, expecting something different to happen, expecting a different outcome. That's insanity. But we're not insane. You're learning how to reprogram. You're learning this process. Change requires change. I love, or requires you to change. I love Jim Rohn, how he puts in perspective the seasons. He's, again, not the first time you've probably heard that analogy, but always a good reminder. The seasons of life and business have seasons, just like we have seasons in nature. And some of y'all live in places that you only get two seasons, right? I spent time in South Florida. I spent some time in Southern California, right? So y'all don't even understand this concept. That's why I had to move back up north, right? So my daughter can experience. This is actually really, really meta that we're talking about this. The main reason people ask us all the time, you went from 5 years in South Florida, 10 years in Southern California to move back to Northeast Pennsylvania, right? It's like, why would you do that? And I used to say all the time that don't get offended, Ron. That there's something off about people that are born and raised in a place with two seasons. Like they don't understand how to handle all of life, all of the seasons of life. I grew up in Philly, and so like I know, right, when the change of seasons come, I can't go to the beach in the winter, right? All right, Tiffany, take care. I can't go to the beach in the winter. Like I just know that that's not a thing. So I have to find other things. I learn to adapt. And I think that's again what Jim Rohn is talking about in here is that your ability to learn how to adapt to the seasons of life that you're going to go through. It's just like handling the seasons in nature. So he talked about these four lessons. Number one, he said learn to handle the winters. Learn to handle the winters. What does that mean? That means that you're going to have some hard seasons of life. He said some are short, some are long, some are really hard. We went through a really hard winter. It was negative 5 degrees for like 3 weeks in a row, right? Hard winters. They last a little bit longer up here. So you have to learn how to handle them. You have to learn how to handle the winters of your life. You have to learn how to handle when things are not going the way that you want to financially, right? Things are not going the way that you want to. In your health, you get hit with, sickness after sickness. You get dealt with family death after family death. You get laid off your job. Like the winters of life, learn how to handle them. Remember, don't wish them away. It's through that adversity, through the winters, to help you appreciate spring, to help you appreciate some, to help you know what to do when life gets better. That's what gets us stronger. It's the winters. So you have to learn how to handle the winters, get stronger, get wiser, get better. That's what I wrote down in the winter. That's when you get better, you get wiser, you get stronger. It's in the winter seasons. If you wish them away and you don't know the lessons, you're not getting better. The winters come to make you better. Second lesson, he said, learn to take advantage of the spring. So again, keeping in this theme of seasons, learn to take advantage of the spring. What did he say the spring is? It's opportunity. But we only get a few of them. He said, so you got to take advantage quickly. Opportunities don't just keep coming your way. They like you may get they used to say that you get two good opportunities to change your life. I don't believe that in 2026. I think that there's a plenty of ways that you can change your life, but he said you get two really amazing opportunities in your life. I don't know if you've had your first one or this is your last one or your second one, but either way, you got to take advantage of the opportunities that come your way in the springtime, when you start seeing opportunity, when things start blooming, you got to be able to take advantage of it quickly. Third thing he said is protect your crops in the summer. Protect your crops in the summer. Protect what you've built. Protect what's budding. Protect what's growing. Protect where you've been planting and now you're starting to see some things happen. You have to protect it. What does that look like in your business life, in your financial life, in your personal life? What does it look like? It might mean we got to move away from some people that are not protecting our crops, that are not protecting what we built, that are not helping us grow our garden. We might have to move away from them. We might have to block them out. We might have to get laser focused so that we can build this fort around what we've been building, this cocoon around what we've been building, a cocoon around our mind of what we've been listening to, of how we've been getting stronger in the summer, of how we've been getting wiser or in the winter, right? How we've been getting stronger in the winter, how we've been getting wiser in the winter. We got to protect that. We can't just let people come and take it away from us so we start all over again next winter, right? We got to learn to protect the stuff, prevent all the intruders. All good will be attacked. All of the good stuff that you've done, that you've put into your mind. If you stop showing up on these morning mindset calls, if you stop reading and doing the work, in 2 years, you will be just like you were. All good will be attacked. That's why you have to build on these things, because the moment you stop, you will revert back. All good will be attacked. All values must be defended. You got to continue to defend what you believe in, that vision that you've built, that you're creating. You got to continue to defend it. The fourth thing he said is learn to reap in the fall without complaint. Learn to reap in the fall without complaint. Everything you've built, all the stuff that happened in spring, you taking advantage of the opportunities, you protecting your mind, you protecting your crops, you protecting what you build. Now learn to reap without complaining. I heard a pastor say this one time. It's more work to reap than it is just to plant. Planting, right? Just planting the seeds, yeah, it might take some time. But when it's harvest time, when you have a field full of crops, when you have a field full of corn or whatever you've planted, do you know how long it takes to now go pick that's work. That's real work after you've planted your seeds, your crops, to now go and harvest those things, to go get those things, to sell them, to provide for your family, whatever it is. So you have to be able to reap in the fall without complaining that you have so much work. I joke, some of y'all have heard me say this before, but like I never complain about being busy because I remember when I wasn't busy and it was the only thing I prayed for was to be busy. And as an entrepreneur, when you're not busy, you don't make money. That's not fun. Those are not fun times. But I'll never complain about now having a lot on my plate or being busy because I remember in a season, that's all I was praying for. That's all I ever wanted, right? So you have to learn how to reap without complaining. The last thing he said in there, which is where we'll dive into the text, he said, you got to take full responsibility. That's how you learn how to reap without complaining, whether you do well, whether you're not doing well, doesn't matter that work that you're doing, you're taking full ownership and full responsibility of your life. Remember, life is not what happens to you, it's happening for you. Life is 10% what happens to you, 90% how you react to it. We all go through similar things in this life. So the question is, how are you responding to it? In our text, 177 Mental Toughness Secrets, we've read this one, but it's important to remind ourselves that we have to take responsibility for our own lives, for your choices, for where you are in life. The great ones take responsibility. That was what Jim Rohn talked about. The step between you becoming a girl to a woman, a boy to a man, going from childhood to adulthood is when you take full ownership and responsibility for your life. You no longer blame your parents. You no longer blame your community. You no longer blame your spouse or your kids or your coworker or your boss or any of those things as to the reason why you are where you are. We take responsibility. This is a rite of passage. This is how you get to the next version of yourself. This is how you get to the next area of life is you just take on the responsibility. Here's what it says in the text. It says one of the critical factors separating amateurs from pros is responsibility. People operating at the poverty and working class levels of awareness often see themselves as victims of the powerful. They create invisible mental barriers that in their minds holds them back from moving up. They blame other people for keeping them down, such as their parents, friends, and other influence during their childhood. People at the middle class level of awareness are a little more evolved, but tend to make safety and security their number one priority. They hold on so tightly to what they have that they fail to see the real abundance staring them straight in the face. Average people in this category are terrified of losing what they have because their mind is submerged in the cesspool of scarcity. People at this level truly believe their supply of money is limited. And if they lose what they have, they'll never get it back. The majority of the population has this belief. People operating at the upper class level of awareness tend to be unafraid, aggressive, ultra competitive warriors who approach life like a battle. They know that there is an abundance and they're out to get it. The upper class tends to operate primarily from their ego, but people at the world class level are a step ahead of the upper class simply because they operate from their spirit self rather than their ego self. The great ones have a thought process and a philosophy and habit all rolled into one that overshadows the rest. I am responsible. The world class realizes they are completely responsible for their success or failure, as well as responsible for giving back some of the blessings bestowed upon them as a result of their tremendous success. Operating from a world-class level of awareness almost always precedes their success. The great ones keep marching forward, making a difference in themselves and in the world. You gotta take responsibility, ladies and gentlemen, for your life, for your successes, for your failures, for where you are in all of the areas. First thing is take responsibility. That's what Jim Rohn said. Learning to reap without complaining, taking responsibility for the work you have to do, for the work you have done, for the work you have not done to get to the life that you say you want. You got to take that responsibility on your shoulders. But once you do, and you have that, like it says, it's a thought process, a philosophy, and a habit all rolled into one. Taking responsibility becomes a habit. When things go wrong, when you might be in a winter season, when things are not going the way you want to, you have no one else to blame. You have nothing else to blame. That becomes a habit. That becomes how you operate on a day-to-day basis. I know it's hard. I've shared this with people. I've heard someone say this, right? If you get in a car accident and it's not your fault, right? They hit you from behind. They ran the red light. If you've trained your brain to take responsibility, weird things happen where you start to say like, man, I should have left the house earlier. Right? Like you won't even think that like, no, this wasn't my fault, right? Like you blame that other person. They shouldn't have run the red light. I probably should have taken that other route. Man, I probably should have left the house a little bit earlier than I really wanted to. That's something that most people won't even rationalize. But if this becomes a habit of you taking responsibility for your life, you start taking ownership and responsibility for all the areas. for all the little things, for all the things that are not even in your control. You start being like, "Ah, I could have," because you've taken full responsibility of your life. That's what you need to do in order to get to the life that you don't need a break from. Not everything is your fault, but you have to take responsibility for the part you play in your own life. You are the main character of your life. You get to write the story of the main character in your life. You don't have to write that someone else or something else is holding you back from getting to the life that you want. The action step for today says commit to taking total responsibility for everything that happens to you. This one change in thinking has the power to launch you to the world-class level faster than any single idea. The quote says success on any major scale requires you to accept responsibility. In the final analysis, the one quality that all successful people have is the ability to take on responsibility. That is your challenge this morning, ladies and gentlemen. That is my encouragement to you. My hope for you is that today you do something that changes you. Today you do something that you are taking responsibility for your own life to say, you know what, I'm going to change this part so I can get to the life that I don't need a break from. I love you guys. I want you to win. My voice is like 80 for it was at 90%. It's going down. It's now at 85, right? So I still gotta preserve the voice a little bit, but I'm proud of all of y'all for continuing to show up. I'm grateful for all of you that continue to stick on your personal development journey. Do something today that scares you, pushes you out of your comfort zone, because people are depending on you to take this information and do something with it. Enjoy your Monday. I'll see you guys back here on Wednesday. Take care, y'all.